Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Amazing things. You feel it in this space. It's so great. Thank you, Reverend Michael. He sang that at my daughter's christening. Isn't that a great way to start your life with that message? So I'm going to therefore say we're all being christened tonight into a new life. A fresh start, to begin anew. And doesn't it feel like 2020 is the perfect year for like a fresh start, a new beginning? It's like, we made it, 2020, right? Like it was the future, and here it is. And as I look at the number, for me, it just looks so holistic. It's so balanced. You have the same number for the century as the number for the year, that feels like there's a balance and a harmony and an order that can come forth in a year like that, right? And I thought, well, 2020, perfect vision, right? Everybody thinks 2020, perfect vision. And I looked it up, and actually 2020 at optometry is not perfect vision. It's based on the chart. It's called the Sentinel Eye chart. You know, the chart with the big E or the A at the top, and then the letters get smaller and smaller and smaller until you're like, is that a D? Is that a C? Is that an O? I think I need a prescription. And that chart. That actually 2020 is about acuity. It's about clarity. That this is 2020, meaning clarity. Clarity is what arises within. It arises from consciousness. That seeing this, that this is a year that, will we have a perfect vision of what's coming up in the next 357 days that we have left of this year? No, we're not going to know, because it's still out there in possibility, right? Still in potential. But clarity, that's something we can have now. We can discern our purpose, our perspective, the word that comes forth for us tonight that can guide us and lead us. And as we've heard from some of these testimonies, that the word has unfolded itself and revealed so much good to each of us. And it will continue to do so for those of you who are discerning a new word this year. So there's that proverb that says, hindsight is 2020, right? Hindsight. So I'm talking about begin anew, but do we want to begin like so new, like baby new? Like I think about my daughter, it took her a long time to learn how to walk and talk. We don't want to go back that far, right? The 2020 hindsight allows us to take into the new year the lessons we've learned, to release what no longer serves us, but to continue to grow and build upon. So we have that clarity of looking back and seeing what has served us, what we can take forward, and then bringing in the new vision, an uplifted consciousness for what is possible for us. So our White Stone ceremony always follows our burning bowl, and usually they're a little closer together, but with the way the holidays fell this year, we had 8 days in between. So how many of you attended burning bowl? A lot of us, right? I got to go twice, so I burned a lot. 2 long lists, and I thought, oh, going into the new year, fresh start, yeah, 2020. And there was something on my list that I put to release, and it's time to do that. And so it's put me in a tender place, because on Friday, we're going to do something we had planned to do last year, and it never was the right time, and it's never going to be the right time, but we're releasing my dog. We're going to put him to sleep. And it's been really hard for me. I cried a lot. I've been crying a lot. Like I'm in this tender place. And I realized that there are others of us who are in a tender place right now, who've had some losses or struggles or people in our lives that are hurting now. And to know that in that tenderness, that there's that openness to to spirit and love and open-heartedness, that's a sweet spot that we can discern from as well. It's not limiting, it's actually can be really opening and potential. And so I just want to honor you if you're in that tender space with me, and to know that, like, I think about my dog, and I think about this feels like an end, but I know that life, there's no end in life, it's just a change in form, that there's something new for him as he moves into his spirit form, and that there's new for us that's going to come in through that loss. There's some new shift, and that's for anything that you're going through. It feels like a loss. There's no emptiness in the universe. There's always that possibility to begin anew. Imagine if you just had all things just keep coming to you and piling up and you never release. That's not a way to live, right? You just get bombarded. That there's that releasing, there's that letting go to clear out the space. And this is our spiritual practice. So we do it in a very tangible, physical, experiential way through the burning bowl. What is our unity prayer practice, which is denials and affirmations. So the burning bowl is the denial, the releasing, the letting go of what no longer serves us. And this white stone is the other part of our practice that accompanies that, which is affirmation. We're affirming the good that's coming forward now through the new word. And we're free to take on a new identity. So what's your new identity? Amazing things. What amazing thing can come through for you this year? We're going to discern that when we go into our meditation after this part of the service. We'll have a meditation led by Reverend Karen. And on that, you'll use your white stone. This is a Jerusalem stone. It's come from the Holy Land, actually, where Jesus and his disciples walked. The stone came all the way over from there to here to you tonight. And it has that beautiful energy from the Holy Land that is with it for you to carry with you throughout the year. The ceremony has very ancient roots in the Christian tradition. It goes way back to the time of the Roman Empire, which is the time that Jesus lived, that when someone was released from prison, they were given a white stone. And this was a very sacred thing, because it not only meant that you were free, it meant that you had a clean slate, and it meant that you had the protection from the Roman soldiers. They were there to protect you. It was a big opportunity for those people to begin anew. And so we can see that no matter what prison you've put yourself in, that now's an opportunity to be free. So what is it that we leave behind from the prison that we may have created? And it's a prison in our own thinking, in our own consciousness, the kind of words that we've ascribed to ourselves that imprison us, words that perhaps we put with our I am. Our I am is the name that we use, that's our God identity, our I am consciousness, right? But then we can add to it words that are not the truth of who we are. I am depressed or anxious or lonely or broken or brokenhearted, whatever words that we ascribe to it that imprison us and limit us. They may be experiences that you've had, but they're not the truth of who you are. And so we can release them now, knowing that when we sabotage ourselves, that's when we're choosing those lesser names. So today we choose not the lesser name that we may have ascribed to ourselves, and know that we hold the key to our own freedom as we choose our own name, as we open ourselves, allow that weight to be lifted, and feel the lightness of our being. So what is the name that will set you free? That will set you free for 2020. Let's look at the scriptural reference for this white stone ceremony. It comes from the Revelation of John 2:17. Let anyone who has an ear to hear, listen to what Spirit is saying to the churches. So ear to hear, that's talking about not your outer ear, but the ear of your soul. That's at the level of consciousness, of depth. To hear the still small voice within that whispers to us. To everyone who conquers, who conquers. That's overcoming that prison thinking, that old limited thinking. Whoever who conquers, it's your choice to do that, this is saying too, that you are choosing to overcome. I will give some of the hidden manna, the hidden food, spiritual food, and I will give a white stone, and on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except for the one who receives it. This is a personal, individual name just for you. We won't say, everybody gets love. It's whatever, it's coming from your soul, right? This scripture tells us about the overcoming in you. That when you get your new spiritual name, there's this hidden food. It's a feast for your soul throughout the year. When Moses and the Israelites were wandering through the wilderness, God sent them hidden manna. This was something they didn't have to do anything to receive. It just was revealed to them. They just collected it, and it served them as they were wandering in the wilderness. So when we receive this new name, we receive a new source of energy, of life-giving energy and nourishment. And we're given the peace that comes when the truth is revealed from within us, from the Christ in us. Our master teacher said, strive first for the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you. So it's the revelation from within, rather than thinking, well, I should have this, I'll write this on the stone. No, it's for coming forth from the inner voice, that the manna will benefit you, mind, body, spirit, on all levels. Jesus said in Gospel of John, I have food to eat that you do not know about. At the level of the inner, the consciousness, that the hidden manna is that vital life substance and energy. And so we want to accept the blessings that are here for us, that are freely given from Spirit as we claim our new name. In biblical times, a new name was a very meaningful thing. Names always had meanings. They didn't just name people because they liked the name. Always had some hidden or a known meaning, actually, a known meaning. The name Saul, who was the Apostle Paul, his name was originally Saul, and that represented personal will. He had a willfulness in the way that he led his life, that he was seeking to persecute Jesus and his disciples and have them arrested. And then when he had his spiritual awakening, he was given a new name. But he was struck blind for 3 days in that process. And in the blindness, he had to look within, and he faced Jesus, who he had been persecuting. And Jesus called him to spread his message, so that aspect of us that we may feel is against us, we actually can have it transformed and work for Spirit and express Spirit. And so this is what happened with Saul. His name became Paul, which means enlightened will, or it metaphysically means enlightened will, that he shifted from being willful to following the guidance, thy will be done, the guidance of Spirit. And his life made a total 180, that he now built. He was the one who spread the message of Jesus, to plant churches that allowed Christianity to survive and endure. And we have Paul to thank for that due to this amazing experience he had. And you can do that too. You can shift and make a 180 in your life through following Spirit's guidance and use what perhaps was an aspect of yourself that was imprisoning you, can be transformed into making a positive impact in the world. And this can all come through, you're following through on the guidance received tonight through your white stone. There are a few other amazing name changes that showed up in Scripture. One of them is Abram, who when he made his covenant with God became Abraham, and his wife Sarai, who became Sarah. And what's beautiful about the changes in their names is that their names were added, in them were added an which represents the breath of God. The breath of God added into their names. It represented their shift in consciousness. And when we're surrendered to Spirit, we're promised this new name. Paul and Abraham and Sarah, they trusted their intuition. So we're asking that you trust your intuition, you trust your divine guidance tonight to lead you. It's important that the name comes from your divine nature rather than your personal ego, your willfulness. And so it's best to, when you receive the word, to go with the word that you receive first, because something will come up and you say, not that word. Something else. Nope, not that one. I want that. I don't want that. No. And that's your word. That's your word for the year. Let go of the judgment of what it means. It'll unfold. I've gotten some weird words over the years that I'm like, what is that? One year I got vigilance. I thought, oh no, I need to be afraid. Maybe I put an extra lock on my front door or something. Why did I get vigilance? It freaked me out. And then as I worked with it over the year, I discovered vigilance, prayer vigil. One of the things I was doing at that time was working at Silent Unity, and part of my job was to pray in the prayer vigil chapel during my shifts. And what I recognized in the word vigilance was this vigil, that to keep a vigil in my heart with Spirit and to deepen my prayer life. And that's what came out of that word that kind of scared me a little weird word. It became really divinely inspiring for me. So as you take on a new consciousness on the white stone, know that the white stone represents joy, it represents victory, it represents purification, the white color. It represents our purified state of consciousness where we know our oneness with God, and we remember that in white stone consciousness, what Moses learned of the name of God, I am that I am, that is the truth of God within us. So your new name might be a title, it might be a phrase, it could be anything, it could be a word like generous or flourishing or love or authentic or grateful. And I just want to close with something that I've gotten twice in the Christmas Eve candle lighting service. You know, they have the affirmations that wrap around the candle. Well, I keep getting this one, so I thought, I'm going to share this because this is amazing to me every time I read it. It's from Isaiah 65:17. For I am about to create a new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. Imagine having such a fresh start, beginning anew, that you're so in that new space, that new consciousness, that new life, that the old life is simply a memory, that it doesn't even come to mind anymore. It's just really faded into the background because you're so fully into that new life. That is what this purpose of this ceremony is for. So I invite you that as you look back on 2019, to use that 2020 hindsight that you're having this year to see it with clarity, that the lessons learned are brought forward, what's not serving you is left behind, and then bringing that clarity forward into 2020. So I invite you to affirm it with me one more time. I begin anew. I begin anew. I begin anew. And so it is. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.